Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, welcome to the Saturday News. My name is Phil Chambers, and I am joined this week by Gareth Morgan. Who knows if he'll be here the next week? He just floats around doing whatever he wants, this guy, doesn't he?
Part-timer, you know it.
Disgrace. But before we get going, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you think of all of today's stories, and timestamps to each of the stories are in the description below, so just click them and away you go. But first up, Shorty G, big news coming out of SmackDown. He has quit, sort of. He was cutting a promo before a match on SmackDown where he was basically just saying that it's like a travesty that he hasn't actually been drafted to either Raw or SmackDown. And he just basically said that he's going to call out one of the biggest guys they've got in Lars Sullivan, obviously, to prove that he belongs. Then obviously he got squashed by Lars Sullivan, and he got interviewed again straight away after the match, and he just said, I quit, quite simply, and that was it. Until later on we saw him backstage and he was in the medical office, and Adam Pearce came up to him like asking what's going on. And he just said that he's done being a punching bag on this happy little public service announcement character that he's got going on. Like, he can't achieve everything he wants. There's only one man that can achieve everything he wants, and that's a man that's an Olympian, a state, national, a world champion, and that man is Chad Gable. So Shorty G quit SmackDown. Chad Gable is back.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say Kurt Angle or something. There's only one guy who can help me, Kurt Angle. And then he had the no. I'm so happy with this because I think Andy Murray put it on Twitter recently, like minutes ago probably at this rate. But it was, this character just didn't do anything. There wasn't any saving grace of this character. There wasn't one moment where you went, okay, it's been iffy for the most part, but at least there was that one thing, like that one segment where it worked. It's not worked all the way across the board. It's just been highlighting what's perceived as a flaw, just being short, even though he's pretty much just an average-sized dude for the most part. He's just not a Goliath like the rest of the monstrosities you see in WWE. So, yeah, get him back in his singlet, get him absolutely suplexing and tapping out everyone again. I'm optimistic. I know I probably shouldn't be, but I'm optimistic about the future now for Chad Gable, and I'll never have to call him Shorty G again. So happy.
Absolutely, yeah. He's an incredible talent, obviously, and they can do so much more with him. So hopefully this is the start of the right direction, because it's been trending downwards ever since he started coming out in that basketball jersey.
Yeah. Well, and speaking, like, that's a new direction now for Chad Gable, a new direction which technically is an old direction, but we'll take what we can. It's fine. But now we'll talk about something which is another new direction. It's probably like they're coming towards the end of a road. So it's another one. We've got new beginnings and perhaps they're coming to an end type thing. I'll explain. So we've got Daniel Bryan. Obviously, he's had a bit of time off during this current global situation. He's been back home, making sure his family's okay. He's obviously got another kid that's just come into the family and everything else. And he's been working as a bit more of a, let's say, a backstage consultant more than a wrestler at this point. He's been popping up on Zoom calls and everything else. And who can forget the Thunderdome video that he did that just kept making me chuckle. And he's since returned now. He had his first match on SmackDown since coming back. And he teamed up with Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens was trying to hint at making a tag team together. They're going to call themselves Team Hell KO, which Daniel Bryan then reminded him doesn't work because he's not Kane. Kane was the Hell bit. And they got over that very quickly. But then after that match, they had a pretty good match. It was what it was. It was a nice cluster of 8 people all together. He was then on Talking Smack, and he was having a chat with Caleb Braxton, Booker T, and he was discussing his mentality now during his current run as a star. And, well, it was very eye-opening. He said, I haven't said anything about this, but in my mind, this is kind of my last run. You know what I mean? This is my last run as a full-time superstar. You can feel in even just the way I approach things and the way that my mentality is as far as my view towards younger people and that sort of stuff. And as I do this last one, my thing isn't to prove to everybody that I'm the best. When I'm out there, I'm proving things to myself. So, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of hints over the last year or so of people saying he's going to retire, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, he's going to focus more on his family life. This seems now like he's edging towards not just completely calling it quits, but just maybe having a bit more of a part-time schedule, maybe a schedule similar to somebody like Randy Orton, or maybe even a lesser schedule than that, because my gosh, he's earned it. He's done enough in this industry. He's put his body through hell, and as long as he's happy and his family's happy, I'm okay.
Absolutely, yeah. He's also been saying recently that sort of he's feeling like he's sort of lost a step in the ring. He's not quite as quick as he used to be. So maybe he's feeling the sort of the impact of a very hard-hitting style that he's done for a very long time now, and he deserves a bit of a break. But I mean, if this is his last run, is kind of hinting in the direction that he wants to take it as well. Like when he came back to SmackDown, he's hinted at a bunch of superstars that he really likes and that would like to face in the future. And it's all the sort of young up and comers. And I think he's been very open about like his ideas for the Intercontinental title, which he also brought up again on SmackDown. And also, I guess he's randomly in the tag team title scene now as well with Kevin Owens, which makes no sense. But I mean, fine, if they're going to do something with the tag titles, you may as well put Daniel Bryan in it, I guess. But I think if he uses this position now in his final one to just put over the new lot and sort of in his mind get them ready for the big time, I guess. He's an incredible talent. Obviously, everyone can learn so much from him. And I think he'd be a great sort of teacher in that aspect. And hopefully, he says it's not his last full-time run. So maybe, that part-time thing can continue. So we still get Daniel Bryan matches in the future. Because, I don't really want to see him retire anytime soon, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just like you said, I'd like him to just be a putting over machine now for the next, however long this run is. Just literally everybody, putting them all on platforms. Kevin Owens, Chad Gable, Big E, just lift them all up because they're only going to get better working with him. So,
yeah, absolutely. But also on SmackDown, we got a whole bunch of segments. The Law and Otis segments. Obviously, I play on Law and Order. And it was finally we got the big court case between Miz and Otis. But it wasn't just Miz and Otis there. Obviously, Tucker and John Morrison were also there. But we got JBL, who was the judge. For some reason, we got Ron Simmons, who was the bailiff. We got Teddy Long, of all people, who was the court reporter, who was basically just there to say player a lot, and that's it, and then go for a wee at one point. The Miz, he had a lawyer as well, which he also fired halfway through because she agreed with a point that Otis made. And then they had a bunch of witnesses. They had like Rey Mysterio, Asuka was there, I'm pretty sure, just to shout a bunch of things. And then they called up John Morrison and Tucker. Basically, it all boiled down to JBL was about to rule in favor of Otis because he decided that everything that the Miz had said was basically just in the job description for a WWE superstar. Until finally, the Miz had one last piece of evidence that he wanted to give to JBL. And it was a briefcase that was full of money, obviously, and he bribed JBL, and JBL ruled in Miz's favor. And now at Hell in a Cell, Otis is going to have to defend his Money in the Bank briefcase against the Miz.
You know what? I was really ready to hate this segment because we've been doing all over it for how many weeks, knowing it was coming. But I genuinely couldn't stop enjoying myself. It was just so silly. And then you had the hammer every time something big happened, or even if something little happened, it was just and it was that really dramatic hammer. Yeah. JBL being the judge in wrestler's court was what it was. There's your symbolism and everything else. Yeah, I quite like the match as well. It's so infuriating because I'm trying to find something in my mind to go, no, this is stupid. Don't put Otis in this situation. But
so long as the Miz doesn't win.
yeah, it's great if he defends it and it's a nice thing and he sees off the Miz and they go to Raw and that's that. But if he loses it.
Even better, the first match randomly is Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Otis cashes in the first match of the card and then he's like, you can't get it anymore.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be very good. See, now I was trying to. Yeah, they wouldn't do that. That's me getting very helpful. I could see maybe if you tried doing it in the middle of the Roman Reigns Jey Uso one, but I think it's a bit personal for that. I think I'll just leave you guys to that one. So yeah, but in terms of setting up things for Hell in a Cell as well, we also had Bayley and Sasha Banks. This Hell in a Cell match. Will it happen? Won't it happen? We were pretty sure it is going to happen, but Bayley hadn't signed a contract, so it was a bit like, oh, technically it's not official. So Sasha Banks took things into her own hands, really, on this SmackDown. She came down to the ring when Bayley was already in there, saying she didn't have to sign the contract and everything else. And she literally waived the contract and said, you're going to sign this, you better sign it. She said, I'm not going to sign it. And then she ended up signing it because she stuck her head through a chair and pretty much forced her. It was great. She was just strangling her head in a chair and making her sign a contract. And it was a very unique contract signing, I must say, of all the contract signings we've seen in recent memory. And I think WWE have done really well with the way they've had contracts signed in the last couple of weeks. I think they've started thinking more outside the box. I'm not saying you need to strangle somebody in a chair every single week to get the match signed, sealed, and delivered. But it was short and sweet as a segment, and it really ramped things up. You just thought in your mind, yeah, Sasha ain't messing about her. She wants this belt, and she's willing to put Bayley's head to a chair to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just make it the main event because it's worth it. But speaking of Hell in a Cell, obviously the other Hell in a Cell match is Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, and some more happened on SmackDown about that. Basically at the end, Roman Reigns came out and he was just about to cut a promo when he got interrupted by Jimmy Uso, who appeared on the big screen. And he was basically just distracting Roman because from behind, Jey Uso came in to attack him. And basically left Roman Reigns laying on the floor. As he was walking off, Roman Reigns got back on the mic at the end and he said the overall result that is going to happen at Hell in a Cell if Jey loses, that not only will Jey Uso be kicked out of the family, but Jimmy Uso too, because he's obviously on board with his brother. Their wives, their children, their entire families will be kicked out of Roman Reigns' family. And yeah, never speak to them again. That'll be it. That's the great. I don't know what. It's a Hell in a Cell match. It's an I Quit match, and it's a you're gonna get kicked out of the family match. Like you couldn't have more on this match than is already currently on it. But I mean, it was good to see Jey Uso kind of get his own back on Roman Reigns for once. Roman Reigns, great on the mic. He's just upped his game so much. It's amazing. And just that extra, as if you bloody needed it for how personal this storyline is, that extra little bit on top of everything else that's been going on.
Yeah, and I just love the way Reigns sold this during his after he'd been beaten up and he got back on the mic. And he was saying, I could lose this belt. I could lose my place at the top of the family. I could lose my place as the face of WWE, but I can live with that. But if you lose, you're going to lose all this. And he just made the family element seem more important than anything, more important than the belt, more important than even just being employed in WWE, more important than literally being at the top of the family. Being in it at all is more important than any of that. And I feel really sorry for the kids and the wives. What do? They're just chilling. At least the brothers have got involved. Like they've just been watching home, going, wait, what? We have friends and family, and you're just taking it away, Roman, you big nasty tribal chief. But this is, I agree with you. His promo game has been excellent recently, and they've both done brilliant work to make us care about this match. And it's shaping up like we're going to have three pretty hellacious Hell in a Cell matches. Who'd thunk it?
There it is.
So I'm very excited for that. But we're gonna take a bit of a detour now away from the world of WWE to AEW, and obviously we've had this AEW World Championship Contendership tournament thing that's been happening on Dynamite. We had 4 excellent matches on Dynamite last week, but easily the standout was the Rey Fenix versus Penta El Zero M match. The brothers facing off for the chance to go into the next round. And Fenix got injured in that match. It was reported, I think we reported it on news video yesterday as well, that or a couple of days ago. It's been a long week. I've been away for a bit, so I'm still checking up on this stuff myself. But he hurt his neck. He really hurt his neck during one particular spot. And now he's been replaced in this match by his brother. It got announced on Twitter through a video. It was actually Eddie Kingston himself, who is the current number 1 contender, who's going to be going up against Jon Moxley in an I Quit match. A lot of I Quits going around right now for the AEW World Championship. And he pretty much got them both together. He said, all right, here's what's going to happen, boys. You're going to step in for him now because he's injured. And hey, it's going to be great because if he wins, like he's going to win and I win this belt, okay, I'm going to win it. I'm going to be defending it against my best buddy. And Fenix was just a bit like, not happy with this, really, but can't really do much about it because my neck's sore. So, yeah, that's pretty much been confirmed now that we're going to have Penta El Zero versus Kenny Omega on free television next week. You're welcome. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I was looking forward to Rey Fenix versus Kenny Omega, but this is just as good. There's so much talent there that it's just like, oh, okay, that's a shame. But this is also pretty great. But finishing off for me anyway today, a report coming out of the Wrestling Observer newsletter and Dave Meltzer. This is coming back to WWE, coming out of the Speaking Out movement that recently happened. WWE are putting in this thing in place. Basically, they are going to have all of their talent have a mandatory counselling session that they're going to stream online about keeping healthy relationships. And this is going to be run by a company called Total Life Counselling. There's going to be, first main session is to like all talent, and it's all mandatory. And then they're going to have smaller Zoom calls after that as sort of little individual breakout sessions that people can have the opportunity to participate in a bit more and ask more questions and things like that. But this seems like the first step that WWE are taking into not fixing, but addressing, I guess, the problems that have been called out throughout the speaking out movement. Obviously, there was a lot of them in WWE. So say what you want, whether this is a too small, cynical, too small, too late kind of move, or a step in the right direction. At least they're doing something, I guess, but there is still a lot more that they can be doing in this company about all these speaking out movements, but at least something's happening, I guess.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is, maybe you can look at it in that light of, oh, well, where was this before? Like, you've had to be sued and the rest of it and had lawsuits against you now to finally go, oh, maybe we should do at least something. Even this is, you can view this as, yeah, the bare minimum, really, just educating people as to what they should know. Do you know what I mean? It's like just etiquette with people. You should just know not to be horrible in that way. So it's something. It is a step in the right direction. We'll see how it does progress. If we hear any more news about it, how the actual counselling sessions go, and if people do break off into those smaller groups. I like the idea of the smaller groups as well, so you can just actually speak and have a bit more of a dialogue with the counsellor and everything else. I think if you're in a big group together, some people could probably bury their heads and just pretend they're not there, whereas if they're in the smaller sessions, you have no real choice than to expose yourself to the conversation. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that going forward. But the last thing we're going to talk about today is, it's an odd one. It's to do with John Cena, and he's not been wrestling, but he's still been finding a way to injure people. So it's an odd one. So a lot of footage has surfaced on Twitter and YouTube and just social media in general. I feel drunk right now. This is it. I'm genuinely drunk, and I'm going to keep speaking like this. So he's injured Eric Andre, I think it is, Eric Andre, during a stunt for his show that he's got. And Eric Andre went on the Jimmy Kimmel live show. He went and spoke about it. It was sat on like a really high like diving board thing, and he was just explaining the stunt. They showed the clip, and it was him just getting thrown through like a shelving unit, and the shelving unit falls onto his head afterwards. But it happens that quickly, you just think, oh, nothing of it. And then when they replay it back and you just kind of see the actual shelf fall on him, a big metal bar lands on his head. And you see John Cena just going with it, just acting his way through it, because he's a decent little actor now. But he then explained on the Jimmy Kimmel live show that was not going to happen. He had like a Bugs Bunny style lump on his head afterwards. It was really sore, and he had a bit of a concussion. But it wasn't John Cena's fault. He did the stunt absolutely how it should have been done. They just didn't prep the stunt in the way they thought they should do. Which in my mind, it sounds like they shouldn't have used a big metal shelf, because that was never going to end well, was it? That's a big metal thing falling on your head. So, yeah, wrestlers, what do they like, eh? Injuring actors by doing wrestling stuff. Who'd have thunk it?
Silly wrestlers. If you heard any growling through that as well, by the way, there are people outside, and my dog does not like them. So, apologies for that.
None of me heard it now.
Be quiet. And that is the news for today. Thank you very much for joining us. Be quiet, dog. My name is Phil Chambers. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilMyChambers, and you can follow Gareth
at GMorgan04.
He really hates this person, whoever it is. And you can follow all of us at WhatCulture at WhatCulture WWE. Make sure to subscribe to the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below what you think of all of today's stories. But most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Say bye, Shorty. He's not interested.
That's it.